At the moment of leaving this impermanent illusory body, may we sever all bonds of desire, aversion and attachment. Right? If you have a desire, you will naturally have aversion and you will have attachment, and the rest naturally in unfabricated mind itself. And bless us so that we shall integrate death into the path. Right? Rest naturally in unfabricated mind itself. If we are able to do that, then we will realize that forget about the death. Even the very idea of us being born, is an illusion. Existing is an illusion. Death is an illusion. In a way, our life, if we kind of understand that, we can say, it's one of, I'm sure in the Heart Sutra also you have read that, what they call Masam Chume Shera Parache, Make Miga Namke Ngoni, something that is unborn, something that is not, ceased, not died or not ceased. In the Heart Sutra, they say like that. So if you give a very kind of, I won't say it's exact, but kind of similar, you can say is that you can look at it like a milk and butter, right? For example, the grass is, eaten by the cow, right? And then the cow gives the milk, and that milk becomes ice cream, And then we eat the ice cream, and then it comes out our toilet, And then that toilet will be recycled by the ocean and then come from the Himalaya mountain, right? So in a one way, if you think about it, if you think about that, if you really look into the inherent nature of the butter or ice cream, it has never existed. It is just that when the so-called cause and conditions came together, for a momentarily it looked like the ice cream existed, the butter existed, But actually butter has never existed. Butter has never been born, Ice cream has never been born. If it's never been born, how can it die? How can it exist? Similarly, that's why it is said the great yogis, the right now for us to have a concept that I am born, I am died, is because we have a very strong idea of ego or the I being existing. When the nature of the mind is beyond definition, all conceptual, free of all concept, union of emptiness and clarity, how can we say I was born and how can I say die? That's why I remember Milarepa said that, I have gone beyond the concept of the birth and death, So that's why I have no death, I have no, I am beyond all that. So anyway, so here it says, may I be able to remain unfabricated nature of the mind itself, and bless us so that we shall integrate death into the path. If you want to understand the Vajrayana, especially the visualization, the Heart Sutras are a great support. Reading Heart Sutra, then doing visualization, when you are doing the visualization practices, if you read the Heart Sutra, this time with the understanding, of integrating into your practice, there will be a great, you will feel that, you will feel a lot of the depth, and, your visualization will improve a lot in the depth. Because Mahayana is like the mother, and the Vajrayana is, like a son. Or you can say that, all the philosophies of the Vajrayana comes from the Mahayana, especially from the Heart Sutra. It's not separated. Only thing is Vajrayana has a lot of special methods, especially the method of the union. Right? Anyway, then Chiwa Lamdulong Barchingi loves. So may I be able to integrate the death into the path and realize that if we are able to rest naturally in unfabricated mind itself, the very definition, the very concept of will be resolved or dissolved in the undefinable, unfabricated, beyond conceptual nature of the mind, will be free of very concept of the birth, death, sickness or existence. And that is how we are able to carry it into the practice. Basically, Mahamudra, I think Dzogchen means something like that, if I understand correctly. Now we are talking about the next stage of the Bardo, which is the process of the death starts, and then, until the consciousness comes out. When at the moment of death, external appearances cease, sights and other senses progressively cease to function, forms and other sensory objects dissolve into each another, bless us so that we shall recognize the process of dissolution. And so when the time for death, comes, some of the early signs, the process of dying has started, is when the five senses and the five sensory objects begin to dissolve into one another, or ceases to function. For example, it is said that when we are first sign of the death, when we are about the process of dying, is that even though you have your eyes fail to see others. You cannot see. Even though some people are about to die, and even though you are nearby them, they say, "Where are you?" They cannot see. And then they cannot hear, and they cannot that they are kind of when you are dying, your sensation, the consciousness, the sensation of the touch starts to kind of not function, and then the taste also start to that you cannot taste things, you cannot hear the sounds, you cannot see the objects, and basically the five sensory objects, the five sensors starts to shut down. As it shut down, what it perceives, the five, and also automatically what you see, what you hear, all of these things, start to kind of the shut down. And that time, may we recognize that now the process of dissolution has started. After that, it is said that when the earth, water, and fire, wind dissolve into the consciousness, it is said that we human beings, it is taught that we human beings, our physical body, are comprised of the elements, the four elements. And when we talk of elements, in one way you can also say, I guess you can say that, the food that we eat and all of these also came from element, and when they enter into our body also, for example, element does not necessarily mean that, doesn't mean that, for example, if you say earth, you might say, "Oh, where is earth in my body?" If I have some earth, I don't mind, I want to make some, next time you want to make flour, you might want to put some body, earth, look for earth. Or water, where is the water? Or fire, where is the fire, right? But then when we think like that, we are talking about, again, we are going to the form of the, elements. Elements are a function, right? For example, nowadays we have this, for example, this lamb offering, right? This looks like a flower, fire, but this is actually not a fire. It's not a fire element. It doesn't serve any function of the fire. Fire is supposed to give warmth, and it has the ability to give warmth. And when the warmth is strong, it burns, right? It doesn't. You can have on the screensaver, computer screensaver, mobile screensaver, oceans and waterfall, but you cannot drink that, right? It looks like a water, but it is not, right? And the orange juice doesn't look like a water. It looks like an orange juice, but actually it's a water. It can quench your thirst. So similarly, when we say our bodies are made of element, for example, our physical body, supports our entire body. So it is solid. It supports supports our body. So that is why the physical body is known as the earth element. And in our body, if we do not have a warmth, we will die. Our body always maintains constant temperature, right? And that is the fire element. And within our body, we have the blood, we have the saliva, even our eyes. Sometimes you need eye drop if it's too dry, right? Because of the water element, right? And the fact that we are breathing the air, right? If we jump into the ocean, we'll die because there's no, the air. So the fact that we are breathing, it is said that we breathe about 21,000 times, if I remember correctly. Breathe in and out and breathe in and out, right? Basically, when we die, there is no kind of music or etc. You breathe out and cannot breathe in, that's finished. So when the time for, the death comes, all of these elements begin to fail or begin to dissolve into one another. And when it is said that when the earth elements, first it talks earth element dissolves into the water. And that is the time you lose the physical strength. Usually you may be a very strong person, but the time for death comes, you cannot even lift yourself up, you lift yourself up, you become very weak. Your cheeks become hollow, you have this kind of hole underneath your eyes, and you can kind of, even when people say, they say, oh, he looks like a very deathly looking, I think he's not going to last very long, So that is the time it is said that the physical strength, that you have no ability to even move yourself. Your body starts to feel very, very heavy, very sensitive. If you are the person, we are the person who is dying, it is said that the body feels very heavy and very difficult to move, and we don't feel any strength. So that is a sign that the earth element is dissolving into the water element. And then when the water element dissolves into the fire element, it is said that is the time that we feel great thirst. And when we want to ask people to give us, we always say, please give me water. And no matter how much water you drink, you do not feel kind of, satiated. And when you try to speak also, all the saliva in the body kind of dries up. It's very hard, all the saliva dries up. It's very hard for you to speak. So when usually people are dying, I believe they usually cannot speak, but they croak, They can speak very weakly and very difficulty because all the salivas have dried up. Then after that the water dissolve into the fire element. And when the fire element dissolve into the wind, that is the time our body starts to lose heat, lose warmth. And when the fire element or the warmth leaves, some masters say that there are two ways of living. Sometimes the warmth leaves from the feet, starts to get cold, and then slowly moves up, the cold, and then the warmth leaves with a little bit of, the kind of the steam, you can call it. You can call it a steam, from your head. And some people, the heat leaves from the head, and then, slowly, from the feet, it starts to become free from the feet, the heat leaves. And it is said that this is an indication that when the heat leaves from the crown, your head, it is an indication that that person has accumulated good karma, and that person is going to be born into the three upper lower realms: human realm, demigod realm, God realm. And when the heat leaves from the lower realm, lower body, then it means they are going to born into the three lower realms.